Good morning, everybody. I hope you came back after yesterday's audio debacle. I am so, it's awful. I thought maybe it might work. I put those AirPods in and I should have realized exactly what was going to happen, which was absolutely crapola. And I was just trying to simplify everything because I bought these, and I don't think I've shown these yet. These are the microphones. This is the lapel microphone that I've been using. And it's got a little clip back here, and then the little light's blue when it's doing whatever it needs to do. Here's the little box. It's actually good for the Lightning and USB-C, so you kind of have the best of both worlds. They have little blue indicators on either side to show you that they're plugged in and working. And this shows the battery of everything that's in there, and then it's charged by USB-C. I think it was like $25, $26. And there's two of them in there. I tried to find the cheapest ones. I've grown to enjoy them because they don't sound nearly, not even a skosh, not even a soupçon, not even anywhere near the quality of those damn AirPods that I will only use to hear music. I mean, it's amazing. You can listen to spatial audio and Dolby Atmos music, and it sounds amazing, but those microphones are the shittiest things I've ever heard. And I don't want to use the onboard mic for the iPhone, even though there's like 3 of them, I guess, because it's here. In the grand scheme of things, it's right here. So every F or P or S creates wind noise, and it's just not conducive to good audio. So the point is to get better audio. And as much as I would love to hang a microphone from the ceiling and just have it droop down in front of me while I'm doing all of this, it's not feasible, and it adds another way for everything to fail. Like there's a series of chains. Like with this GoPro, it's a camera microphone combo that's both really great, so I can use it. The only problem with it is I can't use it for longer than 20 minutes because it overheats. And then I gotta put it in the fridge, and then I lose continuity, I lose heat from what I'm doing. It's a pain in the butt. With the iPhone doesn't overheat, it's just that the camera's microphones suck. So you gotta try to find something out of the box to try to get the sound good, but then you can't use USB microphones or even direct plug-in microphones on the normal iPhone camera app. You have to download something that is different for it to take a Bluetooth audio or a direct audio input source. It is magic how anything gets done for anyone who is trying to do YouTube content on a small scale like this or on a giant scale like so many other people do. So even if it's just sitting in your chair doing a piece to camera while playing a video game, there's so much that goes into that, because if you want good audio, you want XLR. That's usually the best kind, and then that's got to plug into a box, and then that's got to plug into your computer somehow, so you've got to have some kind of way to get it from the box that's an XLR box into the back of your computer, and then there's just so much things about that. But it's steps, it's things that you as the consumer, as a listener, as a watcher, don't even have to worry about. It's all on those trying to create the content that we want to make for ourselves and for you. So, and sometimes it's fun to look at what goes through all of that. I mean, if you went into a radio station and saw all of the components that the voices go through in order for them to get the radio quality you get from a broadcast station, there's so much electronics, there's so many boxes, there's just so much that their voice goes through in order to get it to a certain point, and they're all calibrated to an nth degree to give you the proper sound when all they're doing is giving you a weather forecast. And but that's pleasing. It's a pleasing audio tone. That's what keeps you coming back. Oh, I love that DJ. That DJ's great. I love listening to them. That's just what happens. Sometimes it's subconscious, sometimes it's you realize it. It's just one of those things. And I keep going back to radio because that's what I did. Anywho, Kona Coffee, pre-ground. had them do that at the store at the Island Roasters Coffee Company because I thought that that would be the best way to enjoy this, something that I don't get to see or ever have at all. Kona Coffee from Hawaii. This is a dark roast. I think this will be best suited for this Moka Pot. It'll probably be the best coffee we've run through the Moka Pot to this point because it is a dark roast. And whenever I see folks using a Moka Pot, it'll be with almost like a dark espresso roast. And I know that this isn't ground to espresso, this is ground to filter. So it'll be very interesting. I think the next time we use the Moka Pot, I'll try to grind it down to espresso fine and go from there. I think that's pretty good. And you can kind of see, I'm gonna put this down in here, you can kind of see the back blow here. So when I was putting it down in the little cup here, that's what escaped through the holes in the little filter and down through the funnel and into the coffee. And then this is the stuff that kind of happened on the outside. But while it was down, that's kind of what you got. So I think that's always very interesting. That's why you get little particles at the bottom of your Moka Pot, because these are filters, but they're not fine mesh filters. They're just small holes where particulates have a chance not to get through. So I'm very excited. Also, thank you to the person that suggested that I do the James Hoffman method. I know I thanked you before. I wanted to thank you again. I don't have any problem going back to that and doing that again, but I want to do this one more time with this coffee. Holding the bottom of this when you're, because James Hoffman's method asks that you put hot water, already near boiling water, into this basin. And this basin is aluminum, so it just absorbs all of that heat immediately. So handling this, putting the filter in and then putting the top on requires you to grab the bottom so that you can screw it on tight so everything seals. And this is just so hot, it's unwieldy. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go back here, and I should have cleaned off my stove. I apologize. I did all the dishes, but I didn't clean off the stove. Maybe I'll do that later today. Try to get everything in the center. We're gonna ride this rainbow here. Rainbow, see what I did there? And we're gonna get a great cup of coffee out of it. I'm not going to Cubano it, Cafe Cubano it this time. I'm going to get milk and add milk to it, but I'm gonna taste it a little bit in here to see where we're at. I'm gonna put the rest in here, and then we're going to add some milk. I'm excited. I'm hoping that this is dark enough to where we'll see some richness. Because, and I agree with what the person posted. Each time it seems like it's been pretty light. It's been like almost a brown rather than like an almost dark black, rich kind of coffee that I've been getting out of these things. So, and hopefully it's just more the type of coffee I've been putting through it, because all of the coffee that I've been putting through it have been medium roasts or even light roasts. And then of course the grind is also another thing. This is a coarse grind. It probably would be better with a far, far finer grind, but it's okay. We're gonna get it figured out. We're gonna have fun. It's a laugh riot. It's a joy a minute. Such things, and I'll never get over. Look, you kind of see the red on the top there, the overspray. Someone was in a really big hurry to get this pot out of the, get this pot out of there. So hopefully in the next couple of days, FedEx will deliver my coffee from Bones Coffee. And the accompanying mug, I'm very excited to kind of show that, and I want to get it to my good friend, and hopefully we can try to get him to taste some coffee. What's really hard about that kind of thing is we don't know how his body will react to the coffee, whether it will immediately give him so much energy he can't stand it. A sip could do nothing, or it could do everything, you know, and everything that's in between. So it's, when you've not had coffee before, and I think he's in his 30s now, it's difficult to No. I mean, you can drink Mountain Dew, you can drink that kind of stuff, but I think it kind of hits a little differently because it's a different kind of caffeine intake, I think. I mean, that would make sense to me. If it's sitting in a can, already processed, it's a little different than freshly brewed coffee. I don't know. So I wanted him to taste the regular type of coffee without any flavoring in it, and then taste the coffee that I bought and see if he enjoys that. And I bought it pre-ground, so if he wants to take it home and try that stuff, that would be a lot of fun, and I think he would enjoy that if he had time. But then again, he would have like 6 to 8 months to do stuff with that coffee, so, you know. And if he forgets it, it's fine. It's paid for. It's all right. I took care of it. It's just a fun thing. It's just a fun thing to try. And, you know, we'll monitor. We'll monitor his reactions. But yeah, the big thing about coffee is that there's two extremes, and they're incredibly extreme. You've got the me that might get a little bit of a raise in blood pressure, but I don't really feel energized with a single cup of coffee. Well, I take that back. If I haven't had a cup of coffee in like 4 or 5 days and then I have a cup of coffee, I'll feel something. But if I consecutively have cups of coffee, I'm not drawn to a cup of coffee. I don't need the coffee to function. It's just something fun that I do and taste and drink. It's not like it's in my blood or anything like that. So but then there's the other extreme where people can't function, and I think that that's more of a mental thing. I don't think that it's so much an actual chemical reaction as it is something that you believe should happen because that's what you were told was to happen. So it just happens. Does that make sense? More mental than chemical in that case. Oh yeah, and the people are out there mowing finally. It's really funny. Oh, I need a spoon. It's really funny because all of the old people have been, when are they coming to mow? Our grass is getting so long. I can't stand it. It's awful. And then we've had the entire month of March was rain. It was like nothing but rain and storms and pounding rain and flooding. And they're like, well, they need to hurry up and mow the yard. And it's like, you don't understand what those tire tractors, because they're on tractors, and they're doing push mowing, and, you know, they're stomping around everywhere. And it's like, you don't know what that's going to do to your sod. I mean, I don't care how old it is. You're still going to put ruts in the sod. There are places that last year, I think, they mowed too soon at certain points, and they had ruts going through people's yards. That's not fun. That's not fun to look at or to deal with or have to replace. You know, people don't think. I'd rather have nice long grass than have ruts going through my yard. I had to, when we lived at the other house all those years ago, I don't know, it's only been like 4 years, but when I would mow, you could tell the places where the previous owner mowed when everything was saturated because the ruts ran deep, and it was painful to mow that on a garden tractor because there's no suspension. It's just bump, a bump, a bump, and the seat is okay, but it's very jarring. Although I will admit, I do miss mowing the yard. It was like 2 hours of putting headphones on and listening to music and mowing and kind of feeling free, you know? I do miss that a little bit. But hopefully the new people, this is their first time mowing the grounds here. Hopefully they do a good job. Or you could go the other way. Hopefully they do a terrible job. I can't wait to hear about it, you know? Even if they do a good job, someone is going to have a problem with it. That is, there are so many people that live here. I mean, there isn't an empty house here. I mean, MI's been out of phase 2 for almost a year now. It's just so many people living in such an interesting space. So with the eclipse on Monday, it reminded me of my dream situation. I grew up in a double wide, which is basically 2 house trailers put together. So growing up in that environment and understanding that there's nothing wrong with that environment, even just a single trailer, there's absolutely nothing wrong with growing up in that environment. My dream, and if you think back, the Last Starfighter, back in the day, that's a movie you should go watch if you've never seen it. It's a very interesting movie that deserves a 30 years later sequel. I think that would be a lot of fun. But The Last Starfighter, Alex and his mother and brother lived in that trailer park. I think it was in California, in the California hills, something like that. Just, it's weird to think. Oh, here comes the coffee. It's weird to think, but that, oh my God, that's so dark. Ooh, hello. Turn you off here. It's weird to think that that would be someone's dream living, but I always dreamed about living in Starbright trailer park because it was a fantasy. Everybody lived together. Everybody lived close together. Everybody knew each other because where I lived back home, our closest neighbor was around 1.5 miles to 2 miles away, so we didn't really get, unless we rode our bikes down the big hill with the understanding that we were going to have to push the bikes all the way back up the hill about 1.5 miles. We didn't have very close neighbors. So the idea of close neighbors like that was kind of like almost a fantasy. And then the kind of the close, small trailer kind of houses, I always thought that those were kind of cool because I lived in one of those on top of a hill. And then on Monday, when all of our neighbors were out watching the eclipse, it reminded me of that situation and how we're kind of there. We kind of live there, as weird as that probably sounds. Even though, the houses are pretty expensive. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I'm not going to gaslight anyone here. Our house is not a cheap house. That is for sure and for certain. It is a condo, but it is a detached condo. And we own the house itself, not the property that it's on, but the house itself. So it's kind of like that, almost, where we have a close-knit community that everybody can go outside and sit in their driveway, in our driveway or anyone's driveway, all together in lawn chairs and watch a giant event like a solar eclipse all together and be like, ooh, ah, and then talk about it and then talk about everything else. So it's just one of those things. I really dreamed of having a community where everybody lived fairly close together. And folks, you can tell me if you think that's dark enough. It's freaking hot enough, I'll tell you that. Let me know if you think that's dark enough. If not, I'll keep the Kona coffee. I'll keep enough. Ooh, it almost smells like an amaretto. That's very interesting. I'll keep the Kona coffee, enough of it to do another Moka Pot, and then we'll do it using the James Hoffa method. I'll go back, I'll reevaluate, I'll look at that method, and then we'll do it line by line. And here comes to go outside and see if I'm going to be the old person. I'm going to go outside and see what they did to the side of the house. Because I just remember the 2 years ago where they tore up our electric grounding wire. Now we have 2, because now 2 is code. Just after they built our house, 2 became code. So we had that replaced. Yeah, it just smells like amaretto. Oh, it's leaf blowing. Please stay away from his flowers. I've got hyacinths out there right now. They're beautiful. Everything else is growing. I need a big on-air light outside, just blinking, on air. on air, and they would still ignore it. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. Life outside of this house goes on whether I want it to or not. I have no control over it. If you take away anything from anything today, it's that regardless of what you're doing inside of your house, outside is moving forward without you constantly. Don't worry about what's going on outside. There's nothing you can do about it. You know? So, I guess it just smells like amaretto. Let's dare it. Oh, that's so rich. Ooh, the bitter is fighting against the smooth. And it does have a really fun amaretto kick to it. It's really strange. I've never experienced anything like it. I don't know if that's the dark roast. It's definitely incredibly bitter. What's very fascinating is how the Kona Coffee through the Chemex was incredibly smooth, and it's like fighting. It's like fighting for that smoothness while still being incredibly bitter. And then there's that really interesting amaretto almondy kind of hit that I absolutely love, but that I wouldn't drink. I wouldn't necessarily drink a full cup on its own. So let's get ourselves a little bit here. Take a look at what we got. Still got a little bit left in the pot. Probably should have got a bigger cup, but that's okay. Here's our milk. We're not frothing it. We're not doing anything to it except adding it right to the coffee. It wasn't a lot. Stir this up here a little bit. We're leaf blowing. Oh, that's very, I have never had a coffee just on its own as it stands from the bag to the brew. I've never had anything that tasted so much like amaretto. It's just got this almondy, super almondy coffee taste, and then the milk helps deaden the bitterness while also weirdly enhancing that almond taste. It's so sweet and it's so tasty. Let's finish this up. I don't want any to go to waste. There we go. Awesome. That's exciting. I think I did this right. I'm pretty sure I did. But like I said, the next time we do the Moka Pot with the Kona Coffee, we will follow the James Hoffman method to the letter, including the hot water. We'll put a little filter on the bottom too, in order to get a nice clean cup of coffee without, see these, you can kind of see them. Not really. They kind of go under and come back up. But there are little black spots, like right here on this edge here. And that's just really fine coffee ground. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can drink that and it's just fine. It won't hurt you. You just get a little bit of graininess at the bottom. Otherwise, you won't even notice it. You'll probably sip right past them. And you kind of look at the bottom of this cup. See there's a lot of small little particulate grinds on the very bottom. It's very interesting. Well, thank you so much for watching today. I hope this was interesting. Yeah, the eclipse. It just reminded me of my fantasy from watching, and it's a weird, I guess it's a weird fantasy. If you grow up in a neighborhood in suburbia or even in densely populated areas, it just seems really weird that somebody would want to be close to people like that. And, you know, I understand, but you live most of your life several miles away from somebody. It's nice to see people around. Anyhow, and guess what? It overheated. I can't win. I can't win. As much as I love this thing, I wish I could buy something that wouldn't overheat or give it some kind of a little fan or something. I don't know. I try to put it in the fridge before I start recording, and it still only lasts about 20 minutes. If I put it in the freezer, then the battery gives me a warning and I have to change the batteries out. So, it's all right. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. It's absolutely fantastic and just amazing. The flavors are great. Thank you, Kona Coffee. Thank you, Island Roasters Coffee Company in New Smyrna. You are awesome. I'm glad that was available. I'm glad I was able to buy it. It's just too cool. Tune in tomorrow and I'll make more coffee and complain about other things. Maybe there'll be an update from the old people and we can talk about how the mowers did. Doesn't that sound exciting? Bye. This is my life now.